My mind was buzzing that पहला क्वेश्चन क्या पूछूं. मैंने सोचा पहले हम झगड़े की बात करते हैं. So what is this blow up which has happened?
Today, India has more than 400 million pre-diabetics and diabetics. This year alone, we will spend over $400 billion on healthcare.
5 years में what damage have we done to ourselves?
You've eaten more. हम लोग कुछ भी खरीदने जाते हैं उसमें एक डील देखते हैं. We are value for money consumers. Now I will show some statistics which blow your listeners' mind.
Hi, welcome to EtherWire podcast, a special edition in Europa Series, Future of Food. If you haven't noticed that the size of your plate has become smaller, the food itself is shrinking. Do you wonder what the next generation is going to feed and feast on? अपनी दादी माँ के हाथ के खाने का क्या होगा? Have you ever wondered what will happen to the nutrition in kids? Can hydroponics food feed the world? Or why no one gets that prevention is better than cure? Something so simple, a formula just given you as a handout for a happy, healthy life. But yet, look, where are we? According to World Economic Forum 2023, the biggest crisis the world faces today is food and food prices. A scarcity, a crisis that has never been seen before. Over the next 2 years, the cost of living crisis will remain the number one threat. How prepared are we today? My guest today is a special one who will not just answer these questions, but will leave you with boundless insights that gonna be buzzing in the ether around you as far as your own outlook towards your health is concerned. In fact, beyond that, you may call him a preacher or a prophet. I call him prophet. Every sound his voice make, every letter he writes, every minute he spends, he doesn't work for the clock. He works for us. He is here with a message which is profound, message simplified so that you can pick up your nuggets of doing things right today. I am pleased to invite my guest today, and I think Flow Research Collective has done a fantastic job in introducing him, which I'm going to pick up and read it out. He is a longevity biohacker. Though he is not a scientist, he believes in everything that's science. My guest is Prashant Desai, who is also director Everstone Group. Prashant Desai ji, thank you so much for coming on this interview. How are you?
I am very well. The honor and the privilege is absolutely mine. Thank you for having me. Any conversation around health, food, truly excites me. It just gives me one more platform to spread the awareness of why we all should hopefully embrace what I call as medicine 3.0 or preventive healthcare. And from that perspective, when I received that invite from you, more than you, I was excited to be over here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. This was we were just discussing out there, conversion and client and all. I think this was the fastest conversion in my history of my career.
So when your WhatsApp or email came, I almost felt like writing you are kind of preaching to the choir. I'll be happy to be here. So thank you for
Lovely.
having me.
No, it's such an honor, and I think you are exactly what your well-wisher speaks of you. At least I was said that he is there. He will come, Jyoti. And just reach out to him.
Thank you.
So that's fantastic. So we have crossed a very important a gap of communication to kind of fill in. But I'm going to pick up this first question. Of course, my mind was buzzing that पहला question क्या पूछूं? मैंने सोचा पहले हम झगड़े की बात करते हैं
जी
और या पंगे की बात करते हैं
जी
जो आपने जेंजीज या मैगी लवर से ले लिया है.
जी
So what is this blow up which has happened that you have gone so anti Maggie? I love Maggie, but tell us about this. ये पंगा आपने क्यों लिया Maggie lovers के साथ में?
So I think in the journey that I have embarked upon, I don't see any enemies. As I said, I'm in a journey to educate and keep people aware. I also believe Jyoti, food is personal. I am nobody to tell people what to eat, how to eat, when to eat. It is their personal choice, and I'm here to
mm,
not just respect it but to embrace it as well. In that journey of preventive healthcare, one of the things that I keep doing is when I come across interesting piece of scientific information where there is data to back, I call this as evidence informed information. I like to share it with people. I believe inherently people are intelligent,
mm,
and hence, if this is something that resonates with them, chances are that they may probably think at least of changing some part of their habit
mm,
towards making their life a little better
mm,
is there, and hence that post. The post was honestly nothing to do with Maggie. It had
mm,
more to do with instant noodles.
mm,
If you see the post, I have not named any brand,
mm,
yet naming them in some form.
mm,
But the idea is when you are consuming then 10 packet of instant noodle
mm,
and the campaign talks about bhook lagi hai and
mm,
mummy says bas 2 minute. What I wanted to present is what that food did inside your stomach. And
mm,
it was not my representation, it was a work done by Dan. And he actually inserted a camera inside after eating
mm,
that packet of instant noodles. And what he saw and he observed and he reported was the fact that when you eat instant noodle, the stomach tries a lot to digest it.
mm,
Yet, despite staying in the stomach for almost 2 to 4 hours, the food was constant. The
mm.
stomach could not break that food.
Wow.
Your stomach actually moved in that
Mm,
camera,
mm.
tried its best to do that.
But it didn't.
It did not. Does that mean Maggie is unhealthy? Again, there is not data to prove that, and I
Mm,
write that in the post. But what it tells is that the reason why you ate that has created a gastric distress,
mm,
will lead to you having some kind of a bowel disruption going forward. And I
mm,
write, my daughters love Maggie.
mm,
Uh, we've all grown up eating Maggie. The question is not about whether one should eat Maggie or not eat Maggie. The question is how often.
mm,
That is the first point that I make.
mm,
Second, I also make a point, is 10 rupees cheap?
mm,
And I leave my post with that and I let the audience decode. Uh, yes, 10 rupees on one end is very cheap, on the other end, it's very expensive.
mm,
It's your decision.
mm.
And that's where I ended. So, no panga with anybody. Also, Maggie by Nestle. And we were discussing this informally.
Mm.
I hold shares of Nestle.
Wow.
So it's okay.
It's
If people
okay.
are eating Maggie, I'm
Mm,
happy.
mm,
If they are not eating, I'm more happy.
mm.
But I leave it at that.
No, wonderful. I think you are bringing the aspect of awareness into what you're eating, because conventionally जो हमको नहीं दिखता है हम उस हमें नहीं दिखता है तो हमें चलता है. We don't care. But as long as we're not seeing what's happening inside our tummy when we are eating supposedly and noodles, Maggie noodles, we shut our eyes. मतलब सब ठीक है. Because people are obsessed, or what do you call in spirituality, जैसे हम लोग अपने
Hmm.
ज़बान के गुलाम हैं. We are the gulams of our flavors and stuff.
Yeah.
So food definitely plays a important role in anybody's life. You know, roti kapda makan. की बात करते हैं. So food becomes a very center point. And I am, when it's about our children. My son is 19, and of course he has risen. He's been brought up with a lot of awareness, but I see a lot of a nutritional crisis happening amongst this generation, which is into quick food, drive by chips and stuff, instant gratification jo chahiye. That is what being witnessed as a pattern in selecting their food choices. What is your advice to Gen Z's or Gen Alphas, as we say, uh, who wants to eat, again, 2 minute concept, quickly? What is the optimal nutrition at least they can pick up out of the shelf?
It's a great question, and I don't have, unfortunately, a great answers. I have two daughters, 20 and 11, and it's a struggle in everybody's life, including mine. I can share some of the things that we are attempting to do. First, I think I want to give respect to Gen Z, millennials, or Alpha. We have to treat them that they come with a level of intelligence which is significantly greater than us.
Mm,
So I don't have a preacher mindset when it comes
mm,
to them. My idea is to leave them with enough clues so that they can solve the puzzle for themselves.
mm,
Because I believe if they solve the riddle,
mm,
the my ability to change their belief system, and hence with their belief system, their behaviors, is significantly higher.
mm,
Some things I dictate. In my house, if you want to live, one thing is not allowed, which is you cannot eat while watching television. So first thing, as I said, right, that is they are not allowed. You can't eat while watching anything because science says that the moment you do, two things will happen. You will overeat, and number two, you are disrespecting the person who's made the food. In my case, it could be the cook or my wife, and the people who grew that food. So that one thing is not allowed. Second thing, what we have done is very intelligently not stocked up our refrigerator and our cupboards with a lot of processed or ultra processed food.
Mm.
So, if you want to buy that packet of chips, you will have to go down the road to buy. The
Oh.
moment they have to go down and buy, it disincentivizes them because they are constantly doing whatever they want to do.
Mm.
Third thing that we have tried to do is the first meal, which is breakfast, we make it homemade.
Mm.
I ensure that in that breakfast, they get 30 to 40 grams of protein. Now, why is that important? One, you are getting garam nashta at home.
Mm.
Number two, if it is heavy with either good fats like ghee or protein, it will keep you more fuller, which means if you are more fuller, your wanting to snack will come down.
Right.
When my younger one comes back from school at around 3:30, there is a garam nashta prepared for her and kept ready.
Mm.
So her incentive to cheat is lesser.
Mm.
When we eat our dinner, we ensure our dinner is also home cooked, but something which is more interesting.
Mm.
So we will have our pizzas, but homemade. We'll have our burgers, which are homemade and stuff like that. Now, what that does is they will still want to indulge. So when they go for their birthday parties on the weekends, when they go out, they can indulge as much as they want.
Mm.
I try to apply the what I call as the 70-30 rule. If I keep in control 70% of the thing as a parent, 30% I leave it to them.
Mm.
Within them, I respect the fact that they are more intelligent than me. I will drop clues, leave it at that.
Mm.
And I have seen it's kind of working. Will they not embrace the colas and chips of the world? They will.
Mm.
I cannot stop that, nor I am in a mission to stop that. My whole idea is, can I educate them on reducing this or keeping it in a certain limited way? Uh, if it works, I will be successful. If it
Mm.
not, I would have failed as a parent. But at least I will not have failed in trying. So I
Mm.
guess that's what I do.
No, I think this is very different from what I have heard. Everybody I see out there as a messenger wants to be on a mission, and a mission to eliminate. I think your process to communicating to raise the awareness of health itself, I think is fantastic. So it doesn't.
Thank you.
Uh, and I'm sure, like me, there are collect lot of other forces which are collectively behind you to kind of propel
Yeah,
this.
we are a social animal.
Yeah.
I cannot operate in extremes. I am not made like that.
Mm.
At the same time, I'm not a very big believer of moderation, that eat anything in moderation.
Mm.
Somebody tells me smoke in moderation, sorry.
Mm.
Drink alcohol in moderation, sorry.
Sorry. Right.
Eat added sugar, sorry, in
Mm.
moderation. So there are certain things where I am also very extreme when it comes to these three pieces.
Mm.
But in rest, what I say, be consistent.
Mm.
Be consistent with eating good food. And then when you waver once or twice or thrice in a week, I am fine with it. It's okay.
Mm.
Because your body generally will make adjustment to that in that sense. And today, if you are living in a modern society, you will want to go out with your friends. How do I stop you from eating outside food? No, and it's wrong.
Mm.
Why? Beyond the food part of it, social social connection is a very important pillar of lifestyle medicine or health. I
Mm.
did a course from Harvard and it exactly spoke about that.
Mm.
If I'm not going to let you have a good time with your friends, your stress levels will rise, your cortisol levels will rise. It
Mm.
has a far bad impact than the burger that you had when you went out. So no,
Mm.
I am with you over there. I don't believe in moderation.
Mm.
I believe in consistency on the good things. Then the smaller mistakes that you make will even out over a longer period of
You
time.
spoke about social connection and food and all going out as a part and parcel of our lives. But I think there could be a modification where social connections or regrouping is not always about food and parties. It could be about sports and quizzes or debates and discussions, or a stroll in a park as well with friends. Um,
100%. There
right.
is no debate about that.
Mm.
But one has to be realistic,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And when I wear that lens of realism,
Mm.
what probability will I give over the next 20, 30 years for people
Mm.
to bond more over debates and quizzes and
Mm.
walks in the park versus over food? I would probably give it a very, very low probability.
Right. Right. I hope we get some higher probability there.
It will keep
But
increasing.
yeah,
That I am sure.
and of course, I know where you're coming from. We are not living in an ideal world, but all these are idealization of the perfect, future scene. But I would like to nail all the things that you mentioned about the habit, the access to food, the timings are a very intelligent craft which your parent can bring at home, which you have established as a machinery how your house works. All of this we are doing basically to nail the nutrients that our child or we are consuming, because the body doesn't know, the chemistry doesn't know of the body that you're eating a parantha with ghee or you're eating a old butter,
Or cornflakes with milk.
cornflakes with milk, right? They know nutrients, body knows nutrients. We are talking about future of food that itself looks in crisis. The plate is become half and we have taken half of your cup too. um, what do you think is the future of nutrients going forward, with the context that the food of future could be growing in lab? Are we prepared? Are you prepared? What are your views?
One question, lot of answers. Probably my reply probably would be on a longer one on this. So the way I look at it, if you look at future of food from a global perspective and then zooming on into
Yeah.
India, so let's decode this through numbers in some form and fashion. And somewhere you will have to double click on the past to get a sense in terms of where are we moving, right?
Mm,
Today we have about 8.1 billion people in the world.
mm,
We are consuming close to about 2.6 billion metric tons of
mm,
food,
mm,
which is, if you broken down it and double click and do the math, we are on average, the world is consuming 800 grams of food every day.
mm,
Calorie wise, you put it, world is consuming about 2300,
mm,
2400 calories.
mm,
If you now double click into the westernized society, you would see this 2350 calories are close to about 3100, 3200 calories. If you look at India, another very interesting picture, right? In India, we are now consuming a close to about 3000 calories.
mm,
This number about a decade, maybe 2 decades back, was about 2300, 2400 calories. So over the last 10, 15 years, we have increased our calorie intake per day by about 800 to 850 grams.
mm,
Now, why is this important?
mm,
Which is where your next question kind of comes in, right?
mm,
What am I
mm,
increasingly eating? Again, I never look at India as one India. We call
mm.
it as India 1, India 2,
Yeah.
India 3.
Mm,
But if you look at India 1 and India 2, the people that we relate to, there has been a distinct shift. Again, looking at data, if you look at the world's consumption of food, about 53% of the food that the world consumes is not processed. This includes fruits, this includes vegetables, this includes nuts, includes meat, includes fishes, all of that.
mm,
In India, the ratio is reverse.
mm,
We are consuming 54% of what we are eating is processed.
mm,
Now, double click on this and your mind will get blown
mm,
that in 10 to 15 years time,
mm,
our consumption or nutrient habits have changed in favor of processed food. The moment now you double click on processed food, there are three main ingredients of any processed food,
mm,
which India today is consuming, which is my concern. First is refined flour or what we call as maida.
mm.
Second is table sugar.
Right.
And third is oil or cheap oil.
Cheap oil.
Any processed food you will take will be a combination of this.
Mm,
Now, when I look at that part of it, and then you look at its consequences, and let's look at it, right? As Indians have grown to eat a lot more processed food, packaged food, again, it has a very interesting marketing angle. India is the only country where you get a packet of Lays for 10 rupees.
yeah.
And it is available across Kirana stores.
Mm,
And they come in very bright colored packaging. It's difficult for you to miss.
mm,
And I'm not just talking chips over here, whether you take chips, whether you take cola, whether you take
mm,
chocolate, whether you take energy drinks, anything that you get in a Kirana store,
mm,
everything has been made reductive to a price of 5 rupees or 10 rupees,
mm.
which adds affordability to it.
Affordability.
So
Mm,
you have affordability, accessibility, playing on the Indian mindset of being value conscious. We are value for money
mm,
consumers. I think our biggest disservice, because we were a poor country, is this mindset.
mm,
हम लोग कुछ भी खरीदने जाते हैं उसमें एक डील देखते हैं.
mm,
यार हेल्थ में जब आप डील करना शुरू करोगे, now I will show some statistic which hope fully blow your
mm,
listeners mind, right?
mm.
So, first, we consume far more processed food. Over the last 10-15 years, this number has grown at a CAGR of 22%.
My God.
Right?
Okay, that's a big number.
On top of
Hmm.
that, we are essentially consuming this very cheap. And this is essentially refined flour, sugar,
Hmm.
and cheap oil. Today, India has more than 400 million pre diabetics and diabetics.
My God, diabetic capital of the world.
Forget diabetic capital of the world, Jyoti. We have more diabetics and pre diabetics than the population of the United States of America.
Oh, that's a
Okay.
significant number we're
Now, why
talking
is this important?
about. Yeah.
Okay. Diabetes is your last stop
Hmm.
before the four, what I call the four horsemen of death.
Hmm.
Because I'm a longevity biohacker,
Hmm.
one of the easiest way to live longer is not to die early, right?
Yeah.
So I have done so much of work understanding how I will die.
Right.
So if you look at the actuarial data,
Hmm.
the number one killer in India is
Hmm.
heart attacks.
Heart attacks.
Number two,
Diabetes.
respiratory lung
Right.
issues, which essentially has to do with smoking
Yeah.
and tobacco, and we'll
Yeah.
touch upon that later. Number three is cancer.
Hmm.
Number four is what we call as metabolic syndrome.
Hmm.
All four of them, you are normally in first gear. The moment you have diabetes, you are in fifth gear.
Oh.
Okay. Now I said diabetes is the last stop.
Hmm.
After that, you've seen that movie, The Burning Train.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Dharmendra,
Yeah. Yeah.
Jitendra.
Yeah.
You are the
Madam.
burning train. Your
Hmm.
brakes don't work. Your accelerator doesn't work. You are only one way. It's just a question of when you will hit the wall. When will you die? And
Okay.
you will die 10 to 15 years earlier than a normal human being,
10 to 15 years
at
is that.
least.
Oh my
Right?
God. Okay.
Now, when you look at this trend and the future of food that we are discussing,
Hmm.
if we as Indians are going to consume a lot more processed, ultra packaged food, we will become diabetes. The second sign of diabetes is obesity.
Right.
You know what is the single leading cause of cancer in the world, which everybody knows? It's
Smoking.
smoking.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know in last 50 years, after putting $750 billion towards cancer research,
Hmm.
their only claim to fame,
Hmm.
only discovery the world of cancer has made is what? They found
Yeah.
out the
Hmm.
second biggest cause of cancer. That's obesity.
Okay. Hmm.
So India
Hmm.
is on a train by becoming diabetic to becoming obese to hitting either of these four walls,
Right.
which is it could be heart attack,
Heart
it could be
attack,
cancer,
lung cancer,
respiratory, or
and
metabolic syndrome.
metabolic syndrome.
This is the future of Indian food. And the biggest
This
problem here is our value systems. I am not proud of our Indian value system of value for money. हर चीज में deal चाहिए,
हर चीज में deal
हर
चाहिए.
चीज में buy one get one चाहिए, हर चीज में 20% higher तो मैं खरीद लूंगा. And I keep talking about this on my profiles that wealth is health. Because if in this country, if you are little poor, you have no choice but to eat rice, but to eat wheat, but to eat maida, but to eat sugar, but to eat salt. आपके पास चॉइस नहीं है. सो अगर आपको हेल्दी बनना है तो पहले वेल्दी बनना पड़ेगा.
Mm.
सो इन माय व्यू द फ्यूचर ऑफ फूड इज इंटरेस्टिंग.
Mm.
But let's look at the other side of future of food,
Mm.
right? And I was talking to Revant Himmat Singh. He's one of the biggest sensations on internet on Instagram today.
Mm.
He runs his Insta channel called Food Farmer,
Mm.
and he put out this quote. And this is the biggest dichotomy of our world.
Mm.
The food industry
Mm.
does not care
Mm.
about health when they are feeding you.
Mm.
It's a responsibility in some form, right? You look at any of the multinational or Indian large food companies
Mm.
and look at the responsibility statement,
Mm.
health will be part of it, but they don't care. And when you look at the other spectrum,
Mm.
which is the healthcare industry,
Mm.
they don't care about the food.
It's so true.
My father-in-law is a doctor.
Mm.
I asked him,
Mm.
how many chapters did you have on nutrition when you were studying?
Mm. Zero in medicine.
Because the
Mm.
medical world is not even considering food and nutrition.
Right.
And the nutrition world is not considering healthcare cost. Now let
Absolutely.
me blow your mind again. Okay. India's GDP is roughly about $3.5 trillion.
Mm.
This year alone,
Mm.
we will spend over $400 billion on healthcare.
We'll be spending in
Indians, you and
India.
I will be spending.
Okay. Okay.
Of that, one third is at inside hospitals, one third is on drugs and medicines, and one third is on tests,
My God.
diagnostic, right? Guess what was this number just 5 years back?
200?
It was $70 billion.
Oh,
In five
5
years,
years.
this 70 billion has become 400 billion.
What have we done? 5 years, mein what damage have we done to
You've
ourselves?
eaten more chips, more cola, you've
Yeah.
eaten more fruit, you've eaten more fruit juice,
Mm.
you've eaten more cereals. Today, you look at an average urban breakfast room. What are they feeding their kids? Toast, which is refined flour,
Mm.
butter, which is good, fruit juice, which is pathetic,
I swear the one.
sometimes milk,
Mm.
but in that milk, they destroy the milk by putting a Horlicks or a Complan or whatever,
Mm. Bonvita.
right? Bonvita. Or they will make a smoothie where they will
Mm.
put sugar
Mm.
and a fruit. Again, a problem.
There is no escape, it seems.
There is and there is not. And I am not here to change people's mind. I'm here to present data. 60% of that $400 billion is spent outside of our pocket. India does not have a national healthcare policy.
Yeah.
So we have to spend that money on our own.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at our per capita income is about $2,500.
Mm.
Today, we are spending at least 12% of that every year on healthcare,
Okay.
right? But this is average India picture. Now, when you double click on that, if your income is 2,500, you are not making 2,500 because Modi ji will take 30%,
Mm. Tax to lagega.
right?
Mhm.
Which means this is not 12%. We are actually talking of 15 to 18% of your every single month earning.
Right. Going into
Hospitals.
hospitals. Now, I think this is the reality check rather than the.
More than reality
Mm.
check, because your question was on the future of food. But
Yes.
I believe the world's biggest problem
Mm.
open up the world's biggest opportunity.
Mm.
I am an eternal optimist at heart.
Mm.
Nothing can convince me the future is going to be worse than the past.
And you're gonna live for 200 years to
No, I am
promote
not.
this
I have,
to promote this message.
no.
Okay.
I live till 85 is my target. But
Okay.
when I look at the future of food, because such a big is an opportunity, I see
Right.
so many things happening both on the supply side and on the demand side.
Right.
So you now have, so over the last 5 years, agri healthcare startups have got funding to the tune of $5 billion.
Mm.
Change
It's
has
it's
started.
change has started.